Good morning, everyone. Thank you again for joining us this morning for this broadcast of the Workato Product Hour. For those of you joining us for the first time, it's a bi-weekly webinar that we host to talk about the latest and greatest product features, best practices, tips and tricks, often shared by our product team, customer success team, customers and partners. And if you're unable to join, please register and we'll send you the recording after the webinar. And lastly, it's a very informal session where we bring in the experts to talk about how to use Workato and share with you their learnings and best practices. So ask questions anytime during the demo and we'll try to answer them during the webinar or towards the end of it. So feel free to post your questions in the chat. Other than Product Hour, these are some other useful resources that you have access to. Product.workato.com is our product hub where you can find the latest releases, best practices, tips and tricks, and you also have access to a rich set of video content on our YouTube channel. Like if videos are your ways to learn, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. And finally, regardless of where you are with your journey with Workato, if you're a beginner and wanting to learn concepts or a very advanced user want to understand how to use APIs or set up on-prem agent, docs.workato is the place to go to. That said, regardless of where we work, what industry, business function, roles we are in, documents are all around us. Even though we live in a world where most of the things have moved to cloud and things are connected by APIs, documents still happen to be an inescapable reality that's around us. And as a matter of fact, 90% of all data that enterprises use lives in documents and media files, and often referred to as dark data. And they come in all forms, like invoices, purchase order, patient records, driver's licenses, tax forms, and they are an integral part of critical business processes, from order to cash to employee onboarding to vendor management to contract lifecycle management. Document play a big role. And accessing this data in these documents using manual processes, we all know is pretty hard and painful. But today we are joined by Steve Bowles, SVP of Strategy and Evangelism at Ephesoft, and Chris McWilliams, who is in the Solution Engineering team at Ephesoft, to talk about how document processing workflows can be automated using modern technologies like Ephesoft and Workato. So Steve, Chris, welcome to Workato Product Hour. Very excited to have you on board.
Thanks, Tridi, and appreciate the introductions. Like you mentioned, that dark data, everybody wants to access it, right? It's got really high value in the enterprise, especially in live workflows where you're trying to be as efficient as possible and make your staff productive. Next slide, Chris. So I'll give you a quick infomercial before we get started. If you're not familiar with Ephesoft, we've been around since 2010. So we're kind of a mature startup. We've got two products. One is called Transact and one is called Semantic. And we'll get to those later as we go through. Global company, we've got offices around the globe. Both products you can have in the cloud. We've got hybrid capabilities. And then our latest product, Semantic, we've really focused on using AI and automation that our AWS native application supports. Next slide. So you may be asking yourself, we go to some customers and they're thinking to themselves, it's too much pain, or the projects take too long to implement this intelligent document processing. And in the past that was true, right now, there's if you look at just the Workato Ephesoft relationship, we've built a really nice connector that provides seamless capability. And the problem that we're tackling is what you see on the screen. Documents are everywhere, whether it's paper, where you've got this physical landfill of files that your organization has to access and use as resource, or if you've taken the steps to actually create digital landfills, right, where you scan documents. This is actually a screen from one of the companies that I work with for in my career, where they just had a dump where their scanning copiers and network scanners dumped these documents, and they just built up over time, became a real big headache for organizations. Next slide. So what we'll show you today is that a while back we started working with Workato and we both scratched our head and said, hey, we've got a great joint solution. Think of the Ephesoft platforms that we'll show you today is kind of the on-ramp or the intelligence for documents, where we can capture that data and then make Workato smarter when it comes to exposing that dark data and being able to make branching decisions, routing decisions on documents, where to put that data, integration with ERPs. So that workflow routing and that connection is really powerful. And the two solutions together, really 1 + 1 = 3. It's a fantastic solution, which you'll see in the demo. Next. So real quick, I'll give you a high-level view of our technology stack and what we call our 3 pillars: acquire, enrich, and amplify. These are the 3 pillars that we focus on from a product functionality perspective. Today, you'll mostly see acquire or acquisition, where we'll actually take in documents, whether they're digital or a scanned copy of a paper physical document. We'll extract that metadata. Chris will show you some enrichment. So you'll see in the semantic product and in Transact, we've got the ability to integrate with external data sources, pull that information in, like from a master vendor table with regards to an invoice or some other type of data. And then we amplify that and make your organization more productive. And both products support this notion. And we'll talk a little bit more, like I said, within the demo. Next. So if I was to show you one slide that shows the core functionality of what Ephesoft does from start to finish, we bring in documents, and that can be an individual document or it can be a bundle. So one of our most popular use cases is mortgage, where they get 1,000-page PDFs that might have 100 different document types within it. We know when one document ends and another begins within that big virtual stack, we'll rip it into its individual elements. We call that separation, while classifying. And in this case, we've identified this one as an invoice. And then we apply either an AI model or a physical or a rule set to that particular document to go and extract data that's pertinent or important to that document, that dark data that Tridi was talking about. So in this example, we'll extract the invoice details, and then we can pass that to a platform like Workato and drive context within workflows and integrations. Next slide's fine, Chris. So this is just kind of a 30,000-foot view of our 2 platforms. We're able to deploy on-premise in hybrid mode to leverage the power of the cloud, and true cloud, both single tenant and multi-tenant. Transact is a single tenant product. Semantic is a true cloud native AI platform in the cloud that's multi-tenant. Next. So one of the things we did right out of the gate when we saw the power of Workato is we actually built a public shared connector. So if you're interested, you can talk to Tridi, talk to your teams, and we can actually share this out with you. It's actually available. And fairly soon, we've actually gone through the certification process. We'll have a platform-based connector as well that'll be available in your drop-downs. One of the really nice things is whatever type of document you process, you'll actually see data pills for all that dark pertinent data that we've extracted. So for example, with an invoice, you'll see things like all the header data, amount, customer, client ID, due dates, invoice dates, all that information is exposed and available. And in this example, you can see quite simply, you can maybe branch on an amount for approvals. Chris will show you some more complex things when we get to the demo. Next. So now you're probably wondering, well, what type of use cases? How can I leverage this within my Workato instance and actually really make it provide some really neat solutions for my organization? So we're often asked, what type of documents can you work with? The great thing about our platform is that it spans all different types of documents and all different types of industries. So these are the 40 most common that you see across the board here. Today we'll show you digital mailroom, customer onboarding, and AP invoice processing, which are our most common use cases across industries. But pretty much anywhere there's document pain, you can deploy our product. And for you partners out there, the product is an open book. You can actually customize it. You can build your own workflows. You can leverage the rules-based engine or the AI engine in Semantic. And then for customers, it's great because you can buy it for a single department to get started, and then you can expand to additional departments and leverage it for all different types of documents across all different, your entire organization. Next. So just a couple quick use cases to kind of get your gears turning. As I mentioned, accounts payable is one of our most popular. If you're not familiar with Barber, they're a clothing company out of the United Kingdom. These are typical results that we see with our product. So in this example, they were able to process more with less. They can process 4 times the amount of invoices and reduce the amount of time so that they can get that turnaround quickly and take advantage of early pay discounts, take their staff and let them do higher level type functions versus just basic data entry and validation. So it's a really powerful tool for taking that burden off of staff and making things automated from a data extraction and a processing perspective. Next. So the next one, healthcare, like any other regulated industry, or in this case, supported by the government in the UK, is just laden with paper. Everything from medical records to insurance documentation. It's a really great place to look for efficiencies. These guys, it's not just a single hospital. We've got several hospitals in the NHS Foundation Trust that have deployed our product, and they do everything from medical records to clinical records. They've really automated the whole patient experience from an ingestion and a processing perspective. It's been a great success, and once again, wide variety of different types of documents. Next. I got a little delay, but here we go. Another accounts payable, Honda Logistics. This was a really neat story, and the gentleman out at Honda who runs accounts payable has become a great advocate for us. He actually freed up so much time with his staff that he figured out ways how to make the accounts payable department a revenue producing department through the use of some neat new offerings that they had internally. But once again, great story. Just really made things seamless and automated. And one thing that I'll note as well is that it made the process easier to audit. So when they have audits, or it becomes tax time and they have a sales tax audit or other types of audits, they've got all that data, all the documents nice, neat, and organized, and they're able to get through those really quickly and easily without pain. Next. This one's great. We can't actually use their name, but I'll just say they're the largest pet insurance company in North America. They actually use us for claims. Another great success story. Bring in their claims, auto extracted data. They can now process 7 times more claims per day, and that's actually spurned some great growth for this company. They've actually gone on an acquisition spree and acquired other companies, and they're able to keep up with the volume with just one account, centralized accounts payable services location. Next. Okay, now we'll get on to demos, the fun stuff, probably what you joined to see. So the first one we'll go through is accounts payable invoice processing. Every company has this problem. Companies either don't have a solution, have kind of a bits and pieces of a solution within their infrastructure, or they've got an old legacy solution that kind of works but doesn't. We actually come in and we solve a lot of the problems from a time and cost breakdown. We reduce the manual data entry. In fact, we've got really high straight-through processing rates that we can talk about. We facilitate invoice approvals. So you actually see in the demo, Chris will show you with Workato some people tasks where we actually approve invoices. And then validation, that validation process, the whole validation of an engine of is it the right data type? Is the amount set correctly? All those bits and pieces in the product we do automatically, which really alleviates a lot of the pain and processing time from an AP invoice perspective. Next. Okay. What we're going to show you is Ephesoft Semantic. Semantic is a cloud-native AI for documents platform. We've actually trained it. One of the benefits of being around for 10 years is that we accumulated a lot of invoice data. So we've actually trained it on a couple 100,000 data points. And we also went back in our service history from our professional services team and looked at the common header fields and table fields and compiled those out of the box. So you have instant availability of these fields from day one. Very accurate model, and you can actually get a free trial if you go to our website as well. Next. Okay, just a 30,000-foot view of the data flow within the demo. Semantic is going to ingest some emails that Chris sends. We're actually going to capture that data, extract it, match it up with a master vendor list from the ERP, and then we're going to put it into a workflow. Semantic workflow is Workato OEM'd, which we use, and then we'll route it via a people task for approval, and then we'll put it into NetSuite. Auto-populate all the NetSuite ERP fields, auto-name the file by concatenating invoice data, and put that file into the system as well. So with that said and that overview, Chris, why don't you show them AP?
All right, thank you so much, Steve. I'm very happy to be here today and show you off our technologies. Like Steve said, I think we have a very exciting solution with the parity of our document capture technology and the ability to intelligently route and connect business applications with Workato. So I'm going to start my demo off today just being in an email inbox, which is where so many accounting accounts payable processes start. And this is just to give you an idea. This is really where a lot of people are struggling. Is I get an email And inside in that email, I might have an image. This is actually a TIFF image that was scanned by maybe my desktop scanner. I have another 2-page invoice here that's a different vendor. I have another invoice here that has a completely different table with line item detail on it. There's another vendor which is high dollar amount invoice that might need more approval based routing on it, and then also a larger multi-page document here. So when what we're going to be showing in this demo is Ephesoft Semantic, and since we're a multi-tenant application, whenever we provision an account, you get a specific email address that the AP clerks can just simply forward invoices into. So my particular account is NetSuite at invoice.us.ephesoft.net. And it's simple as just forwarding an email into Semantic, just like that. And we sometimes will even set up scanners that all the major scanners on the market can actually scan the email. So there's a really good way to just get documents into the process that way. And I'll jump over to my next screen, which is the Semantic application. And this is Ephesoft Semantic. So you can see here as I log in, I'm greeted by a dashboard. And in this dashboard, I actually have all the different invoices I've processed, any of the invoices that have been automatically processed, any that have been manual touch, and so on. So you can see the new ones here. I sent in 5, so there's 5 new invoices here. But the one I want to point your attention to is this first record, which is, you can see that it's assigned to the Semantic Assistant. So the Semantic Assistant is really our AI behind the scenes that's doing a lot of the heavy lifting for us from a data extraction perspective. And just to see that transaction has actually completed itself, I should be able to go back to my email, and if I look, I actually have a notification from Workato. So this notification is saying that one of those invoices you just sent in has posted to NetSuite. So this is actually, and I'm going to click on this link, which will actually take me to that transaction inside NetSuite. I'll take a moment to load here, but that is the holy grail of AP processing, is when you can get to what's called a touchless invoice, where you can put the data, the AI engine will capture all the information out, pull the invoice number, the vendor, do the vendor matching, put all the data into the table, even line item detail as well. So this is, again, what we strive for. It's not a perfect world, so there's some sometimes AIs can get confused. So we have a really good strategy on how we do some exception handling, which I'll show as part of the next of the demo. But just to give you an idea, this is a blank screen, and this is really what a lot of AP clerks are doing today, is just manually keying in all that data. So you can start to see, okay, do I want this screen where I have to key in everything, or am I more excited about something like this that just has the data already landed there for me? So that's the kind of power that our solution can provide. And we can even do with Workato integration, there's some really cool things that we can keep, like attaching the invoice record or the invoice document to the bill record. So it's all nice and neat there. So I'll show you the recipe here in a moment. What I'm going to just do is jump back to my Semantic page, and I'm going to claim some invoices. So in the claiming, when basically users can claim a set of invoices that might need more, maybe some help, or this is really the idea of doing some exception handling to make sure that we actually capture the information the way we want it. So you'll notice on this particular one, we have this kind of red light, green light, green light, yellow light, red light philosophy in the product. So you'll notice that the terms here is actually captured correctly, but it's got a yellow line next to it, which is basically showing me hey, we're not super confident in this terms, but we are decently confident. And you'll notice there's a confidence score on the right hand side that kind of tells me a little bit about that. So this is just a great way to capture the information, spot check it as needed. And what's great is in our settings tab, you can actually govern how strict or lenient you want to be in this automation. So you can have, there's actually dynamic thresholding that you can set up in the product. So as a user, just that looks good to me. So I'm just going to release that invoice, and it's going to go into the Workato recipe and trigger itself. This is another one. So we talked about enriching data and being able to add data as we go along with the process. One thing that is very important is being able to pay an invoice and matching it up to the correct vendor. So you'll notice the first invoice I processed, it had a vendor match already, but if there's any question in what vendor you want to match on, the users can actually search and pick out a vendor and see that that particular vendor is matched up. So this vendor ID 1654, that's actually the internal ID I have for this vendor inside NetSuite. So a couple other things, the line item detail, we talked a little bit about that. So our AI models will actually go through and rip the table data apart. So if there's columns and rows, we can actually see those different items there. And users, if they need to come in here, they can insert a row if they need to add another row or insert a column and really manage the data extraction accordingly there. So again, very easy, and you can see as we get these items in, we can address the threshold, the exceptions, and just quickly, easily send them along their way. So I'll just do that. One of those invoices will actually schedule or trigger a people task. So I actually have a rule inside my Workato recipe that actually says, if based on this amount, trigger an AP approval task. And this is a people task here where you can just come in, click on the values, and go to the approval task and approve or reject it. So really nice capability of the two products to be able to do that. You can see we're embedding that semantic data that we captured into the decision of the approval or rejection, so that person that's doing this approval has all the information at their fingertips to be able to act on that invoice. And I do store the document in Google Drive, so if you wanted to pull that image up, you can look at it, see the image, if you need to go back and address that approval. So again, that is at the high level. I'll quickly jump over to the recipe just so you can get an idea. But this is the platform connector, or soon to be platform connector, that we have with Semantic and Workato. So you'll be able to just grab this connector and use all the data pills that come out of the data extraction that we offer through, and basically run it through your process. So we do some really nice things here where we talk to NetSuite, we go through the requester and the people task approval and monitoring for errors and doing all the best practices that we need to do inside of Workato recipes. So really capable, very, very powerful, and we actually have done a few projects with this already, and they're going very well. So super excited, Steve. That is a little bit overview of my AP demo with Semantic.
That's great, Chris. Thanks.
Hey, Chris, we have a couple of questions, if we can take those while we're talking about this demo.
Sure.
Let's start with the first one. Is Semantic exclusively for processing invoices, or can it process other document types as well?
Great question. So Semantic for invoices is a targeted application only geared to invoices. So that's where we are today, but our roadmap is going to expand to other documents eventually around multiple other use cases. But Semantic for invoice is laser focused on the data extraction around invoicing, and it does very, very well at that.
Yeah, and we'll be showing the next two demos that Chris will show you is our Transact platform, which is pretty much an open book. You can build it to whatever type of document you want to process. So,
okay, Steve, Chris, the next one, invoices tend to be, really complex, and like even the PDFs, they run into multiple pages with multiple tables, and oftentimes these tables run across multiple pages. So how does Ephesoft support that, the extraction for those kind of documents?
go ahead, Chris, and then I'll add my 2 cents when you're done.
Sure. Yeah, we do. So I showed that a little bit today, where we actually will do automatic table detection and find the columns and rows and parse that out into usable, actionable data, and you can basically build that into your process. The exception handling, we have other tools that, if you're interested in, we have other ways to do what we call a 2-click lasso that allows you to grab multiple table definitions and structures and go across different pages and things like that. So we have there's a table data and invoice is one of the more difficult things, and we actually handle it very, very well. So I encourage people that are interested. I always say, don't take our word for it. Like, let's have a chat and let's get you a login and run through a trial.
Okay.
Yeah, a quick note on that, Trudy. We've got a full-blown data science team at Ephesoft, and when we built this, we went for the, invoices are what I call an 80-20 problem. Anybody can do 80% of the invoices that are out there. They're easy. Most AI models can handle them. It's that 20%, the really, really hard ones, that cause the most pain for AP departments. That's what we focused on, the cross-page tables that have skewed rows or headings that don't quite stand in the center. So we built our model to handle the really hard ones, and it's done quite well. So.
Thanks, Steve. No, that's a related question on that. Like invoices again, like depending on the geography, the countries, the invoices may vary. For example, there's a question in UK, invoices may include VAT. Some other countries may have similar artifacts. So does Ephesoft account for those localized flavors as well?
Yeah, so today, the first release that we put out is English, North American, Canada only, but the team is actually working on the follow-on deployments for Europe and other countries. Yeah, we're building those models as we speak.
Okay. Okay, and that would also account for like the varying date formats, like what's used in the US versus other parts of the world.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, and that's, yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
One last question on this one. Chris, the demo we started with, it started with the invoice arriving in inbox, right? But if it's a large number of invoices that need to be processed, it may end up being on an SFTP server or a cloud storage, like whether it be Box, Dropbox, Amazon S3. So can you talk about like how you could use Workato to get invoices from any source and push it through Ephesoft?
Yeah, that's great point. So yeah, I would definitely solution something like that with Workato, just because there's just so many capabilities to connect into, like an FTP or some other repository of documents, and being able to pull them in. And we can just basically send those documents into the semantic platform just on a kind of a transaction base, or kind of do more batch loading and things like that. So yeah, that's exactly how I do it, is use different connectors inside the Workato suite to, at the bare minimum, just send invoices in through email with a recipe. We are expanding our API as well, so you'll see more and more APIs become available in the product as time goes on.
Okay, thanks, Chris. We can move on to the next part.
Cool.
All right, so let's move on to the next one. So the next two demos we'll show you are with Transact, and Transact is our core flagship product that we've had for 10 years. Very capable, very open. For those of you out there that are Java developers, you can build your own plugins, your own scripts. The product's very capable. What it really excels at is solving what I call the multi-channel issue. So if you look at any mailroom, and I use the word mailroom lightly, most people think about mail and physical envelopes that are coming in. We can do that, and Transact has a scanning interface that you can leverage, but it also taps into email. It has hot folder capability. It's got a full API layer, so you can actually leverage any one of 65 APIs to do everything from upload documents to read barcodes to return OCR text. And the whole goal is to solve this issue and have Transact, Semantic, all our platform be kind of your frontline defender against that inefficiency that those documents bring into the organization. So next slide. If we're to look from a 30,000-foot view, these are the different steps. Ephesoft will capture and enrich the document, hand that intelligent data and that context to Workato to do its magic, right? Route, deliver, and do all those branching bits and pieces that may be required to get a document from point A to point B within any organization or external to the organization. Next. So what does that solution look like? Essentially, you have Ephesoft as what I call kind of the digital doorway. Everything has to flow through it that comes into your organization. We process, extract, classify, separate, and then hand to Workato that lets folks interact with documents via people tasks or other mechanisms. And it integrates with all those different systems so it can take the documents and data from point A and put them in their end resting place within your organization. And Chris will go ahead and show you an example of a mailroom solution.
Yeah, perfect. So Steve, I like to start these demos out by just kind of actually looking at the source documents. And we talked a little bit about mailrooms and just the digital landfill, if you will, but this is just kind of a reality of what people see. You might have a mailroom, or these are actually, a lot of these are scanned images, but they can come in, there can be resumes, there can be account opening forms, there can be junk mail, invoices, all sorts of different types of documents, and having a strategy that allows you to take these documents apart and analyze them and process them is really important. So I'm just going to kind of, we see a lot of different capabilities, but in types of projects. But what I'm kind of going to show today is an example of Ephesoft Transact working in conjunction with Workato. And I'm going to start by dragging that file directly into, this is actually a Box account. So I'm actually dragging that file into Box, but this is an actual real live situation where customers are in a hybrid position and they actually can have scanners either scanning into their Box account that are disparate, distributed across an enterprise. So Box can sometimes be a great cloud repository to be able to move these types of files around the organization. And one of the things that we really benefit by having Ephesoft Transact and Workato paired together is we get a robust document classification engine with Ephesoft Transact, and we get a real powerful, intelligent routing engine with Workato. So if you put those together, you can start to do some really cool things. So this batch was actually just processed, and if I refresh my screen here, we'll go look at this recipe. So this is a simple one just to kind of understand how things can work. But this is a recipe where a new file comes into Box, and then we can get that file URL, and then we actually do an upload into Ephesoft Transact. So this is another connector that we're using with some of the Ephesoft web service APIs. And basically, there are some very simple parameters that you map in, which you say, here is the batch instance name and the batch class identifier, which is kind of a system level field inside a Transact, the name and the file itself. So having that information allows us to trigger an event inside Ephesoft Transact. So I'm going to go, now that that document is actually processing, I'm going to jump over to Ephesoft Transact and just show a few things off here. Transact is a batch-oriented system, so you can think of that transaction as a batch running kind of level transaction, and you can see that job is started here inside Transact. So we have a complete validation, review and validation screen inside of Transact as well. So I'm actually going to open up one of these packages so we can just kind of see what that looks like inside of Ephesoft. But you can see this is, again, having a human in the loop process when it's important. It can be very valuable as part of the implementation. And this is a good idea of how we can actually take that document package and start ripping it apart into its individual document types. So you'll see there's insurance form data, there can be cell phones or resumes or barcode type information, and we can pull all that information apart. So this idea of being able to intelligently classify and separate the documents is a very important concept to bring to an enterprise. So you can see we can do intelligent document extraction as well. So we can pull off information from account opening forms. Depends on, this is unlike semantic, we have the ability to create custom fields and come in and build out all sorts of different items here and set up the document extraction the way you want it. So very, very powerful, and users would just basically validate and jump through the different documents, and you can put force validation at the field level. So this is a due date. Maybe the user wants to interact with the document, lasso the due date, and pull it into the process. So again, super easy to just take that batch of documents. You can imagine if you didn't have this, how labor intensive it would be to separate all those documents out. And then finally, after that trigger event happens, I run through another recipe that actually takes the documents. And for right now, maybe some of those documents need to live in SharePoint. So one of the things we're doing with organizations in their kind of mailroom or their digital mailrooms is adding that intelligent document routing with Workato paired with the actual document classification inside of Ephesoft Transact. So you can start as soon as you identify what a document is, you can now start to route it to the right place correctly in a timely manner. So that's a quick overview of a mailroom type digital mailroom solution that we typically consult around. Back to you, Steve.
Yeah, and one question we typically get, and Trudy, you had asked us this the other day, what do customers do that don't have Transact? And it's, you know, funny story. I actually worked with a hospital in my career at one point in time, and they would actually receive a big PDF. They'd print it, separate it manually as paper, and then rescan it in. Okay, so there's crazy processes going on out there behind every door in every type of organization. So now let's talk about customer onboarding and new accounts. This is another one of our popular use cases, especially in financial services. So banks, financial services organizations deal with all different types of inbound forms, whether it's an application opening form, IDs, passports, country IDs in certain countries out there in the European Union. It's insane the type of information they get, and the data entry requirements for these are ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. So the real challenge is, how do you get this new account or new customer data, things like the ID, the application, verification of employment, verification of income, process those, extract the data, and then use that data to do things like background checks, know your customer checks, fraud, right? How do you detect if somebody's sending you fraudulent data? So we can expose that dark data from this document set, hand it to Workato, and the sky's the limit, right? From an integration and a processing perspective. So this is the next one that Chris will show you, and we're using Transact again on this particular one. So.
All right, perfect, Steve. So I will just show this one. I'm actually going to start this one by showcasing our mobile application. So we have a mobile application that allows you to take a picture of documents that I'm going to use to onboard. So this is actually a driver's license, and I'm going to really select a driver's license and an account opening form. So two different documents that we need to onboard inside here, and I can be able to do some image rendering and cleaning up of the image, so it's a really nice, neat, clean image, and then actually upload that into Transact for further processing. So we'll kind of look at that, and I'm going to basically open up another batch so we can see after we've onboarded those documents. We can actually have a back-end administrator. So a lot of times this might be in a financial institution. So we can actually have like banking staff look at the data that's coming off of these documents. And you can see here we actually have all the different driver's license data that's coming off of a particular driver's license, which is really neat. And we can even do some nice things where we actually embed the photo and the image, so we can actually represent or crop out the different image inside a base64 string, which I'll just basically show a little decoding of that. So if you wanted to have a process to do something later down the line where you're doing some image comparison of signatures from the driver's license, you could utilize something like that. So again, the idea here is to make sure that all the data is captured correctly and change any of the exceptions that might be from the document. And here you can see we're pulling out different names, and if the document's signed, and do some signature detection. There was a question on data validation. We actually have different formatting rules and logical data formatting that we can do inside of the Transact side as well. So again, I'll just validate and push this document out. And at that point, we would basically run it through the recipe again. And I'm actually pushing the documents back out to Box in a nice neat, organized manner. And I will actually go through and create a Salesforce record for a new account opening case with my Workato recipe. So I'll just jump back over to Salesforce. There's no new cases here, and if I refresh, I should have a new piece here. So there's the new account opening, Justin Taylor. If I open up that account, you can see I have a new case that's also been created. This has all been done intelligently with the Workato recipe and using the Ephesoft data. So you can see all the data that we've captured as part of the driver's license has been associated with this case object inside Salesforce. And now I can do all sorts of other things with it and really automate more of the business process. So that's another quick example of how we can really pair Workato and Ephesoft Transact up together and paint this really powerful automation solution for a customer.
Yeah, that was great, Chris. And one thing I'll mention is that it's kind of a well-known fact in our industry that 60% of all business processes either start with a document or at some time during the process need access to a document or some type of record. So we help out with that extraction, but Workato combined with Ephesoft, you can really do some neat things and take away a lot of that manual type of processing that that documents typically require. So that's it, Tridi. Any additional questions out there?
Hey, Steve, I'll ask the question while I launch the poll because there's some interest and, and folks may want to reach out to you for more. So everyone, if you have more questions for Steve, Chris, or Ephesoft, and you want to reach out to them or them reach out to you, just let us know. So Chris, there's a question from Darius. In terms of data validation and cleansing, what capabilities exist in Ephesoft, and what would be a recommendation in terms of applying those cleansing and validation rules? What should be included in the Ephesoft extraction side, and what part of should fit into Workato, the automation side of things?
Yeah, I think at the way I think there's a lot of ways to answer that question. So at the technology level, you can think of Ephesoft we can put pattern validations on particular data fields. So if we know, for example, an SSN number is going to come in these types of formats, we can put masks on top of data fields so that the data that's inputted or captured by our technology is in a very structured manner. Same thing with like date formatting and conversion. A lot of people will write different ways of writing a date on different documents. We have an intelligence layer. I know Workato can do that too, but we can do that as well. So it's really that idea of data validation I don't think there's one. You're always in technology, you're always doing some kind of data validation. So I think it's really part of both platforms in a way, but we can do data enriching and looking up into other systems as well. So there's a lot of different moving parts there, but yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah, one note that I'll mention, Tridi. Symantec has kind of a normalization engine, so it'll actually any data that it extracts, it will normalize to the configured settings. Transact, you've also got a pre-built validation and exceptions engine, and then you've also got the ability to write custom scripts as well. So you can get really fancy if you need to do interesting stuff with certain data fields.
Okay, this is a question from Sachin. I think it's a philosophical question, but it's his point is he has worked at PwC and he comes from an auditing background, and he has seen like even the technologies like Ephesoft exist, the typical way invoices are processed is manual, like people, reading from invoices and manually inputting data into whatever application it needs to go to. So are there limitations in like the current set of technology that is available in the market, or what is it that's preventing businesses from adopting technologies like Ephesoft?
That's a good point. I think in the past, one of the things that we've really focused on is reducing the deployment time by having pre-built models, or at least starter packages. If you look at the document capture industry, intelligent doc processing industry, even with like some of the more advanced companies like us in the market, it isn't until the last couple years that we really started having kind of the flip the switch and start processing immediately type configurations. It's always been these long, arduous projects that take forever and require a lot of manual services. So that's been a limiter in the past, but those things have changed over the past few years. Now it's very easy. They've gotten a lot more affordable. There's multiple licensing methods, so you can license on subscription per image. So it's become a lot easier to adopt these and bring them into the organization. That's my 2 cents. I don't know if you have anything, Chris.
Yeah, I would agree. I think getting these off the ground is efficiently and quickly is really important, and that's why we spend so much time in product and product engineering, making sure we have that type of power at your disposal, and being able to build and deliver this type of data classification and extraction is very important. So we spend a lot of time looking at that at Ephesoft. So
okay, one last question, Chris, and then we'll close it out. Like you mentioned, like AI is, it's AI, right? And it is accurate to a certain degree. So what kind of capabilities exist, like depending on the accuracy of the extraction, that you can review things and, put some feedback into the extraction to correct the data? So is that something that's available in the platform, Ephesoft product, or how should customers go about it?
Yeah, you want me to answer that, Chris?
sure.
I can. Yeah, so the AI models that we build are extremely accurate out of the gate. You're talking mid to high 90s from accuracy percentage. Obviously, it all depends on the quality of the invoices. If a human can't read it, we have trouble reading it. But we give you the ability to validate and enter the data manually if there's a problem. I don't know if you had anything to add on to that, Chris.
No, I agree. We lever, like so many companies, we actually leverage so much AI in our products. So having our data science team behind the scenes building out these models and using them across the different products is critical. So yeah, we embrace it, and we use AI when it makes sense, and when you don't need that tool, we have actually other ways of extracting data too. So it's just all about finding the right tool for the right job. That's how I think about things.
Spoken like a true solutions engineer, Chris. Thanks so much again. And Chris, the other part, from an adoption standpoint, technology like just extracting data is not enough, but what you just shared in these demos is the ability to extract the data and move that data quickly into the right destination systems fast with the automation using Workato. So that will also accelerate adoption of technologies like Ephesoft. So thanks again for putting together the great demos and the use cases. Very, very exciting technology, and look forward to seeing more of these in the upcoming months.
Thanks
so much for having us. Yeah,
thanks everyone for
appreciate it.
joining us, and we will share the recording with you. And if you have any questions, reach out to product@workato.com. Have a good rest of the day.
Take care.
Thanks.
Bye.